The meeting is now called to order, and I'd like to ask the city clerk to call the roll.
All council members present.
All right. Mr. McClellan, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Would you all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence? Bob knows that because he was there when it was written. So, okay. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council members, any agenda changes? No. We're now at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on the items that are not on the agenda. However, council, authority, and agency members may briefly respond to statements or questions. An item may be placed on a future agenda. Belinda, do we have any cards for public comment?
Yes, we do.
Really?
We have 2 cards.
Just 2 because we're okay.
The first speaker is Robert Gurman.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me speak. And if I can get the hang of this. My name is Robert Gurman. I live at 9214 West Hill Road, Lakeside. I am founder and spokesperson for Citizens Against Gillespie's Expansion, low-flying aircraft. Please visit our website. We are a group of citizens throughout San Diego County following the business practices of San Diego County airports, in particular Gillespie. On Supervisor Diane Jacobs' recommendation, I came to notify El Cajon City Council of this issue. Gillespie Field and the FAA have once again broken its promise to us. Since the closure of the El Cajon Speedway and the subsequent zoning change of that 70-acre parcel to aviation only, the citizens of East County have been promised a park on Marshall Street, across the street from Gillespie and Spear Field. Gillespie Field is 851 acres, according to the FAA. The citizens of East County have given up a nationally acclaimed family raceway, the El Cajon Speedway, motocross track, a pool, golf ranges. The public gets no income from Gillespie, and now we get no park. When I started researching this, I was informed by the Department of Public Works I could go to Santee's Parks. I walk my dog on this vacant land and could just imagine a beautiful park with a dog park. I would ask the El Cajon City Council to investigate this matter. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Mike Akrawi.
How do you pronounce your last name, sir?
Akrawi.
Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Mike Akrawi. I'm a business broker and real estate agent with Century 21. I help a lot of people, Chaldean and Middle Eastern, in East County buying and selling businesses in East County. I help a lot of them to lease shops. So I would like to tell you there is no shopping center or shopping mall that there is no a Chaldean or Middle Eastern owner or business owner. I would like to ask you today, as a city council, that, we as a Middle Eastern, we need to blend with this community. We are improving ourselves and helping the community, and there is a new generation that need to move to the next step. We're not asking you to be only refugee, but business owners and other, doctors and engineers. So today we came here, and we're gonna ask you guys to help us with the map, and hopefully, we're gonna get a good decision on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
I have no other cards under public comment.
All right, this brings us then to item 100. Item 100 is a public hearing on City Council district election focus maps. I'd like to ask the staff to tell us about this item.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, before you, we will be discussing the district election maps. We, at the last meeting, you may recall, on May 9th, the staff brought before you 21 maps that were submitted through the process that we had undertaken with several community workshops and a lot of outreach for individuals to submit their maps for what they think, how they think El Cajon should be broken up by districts. The City Council reviewed those 21 maps at its last meeting and elected 5 as its focus maps to look at in more depth at tonight's council hearing. In addition to that, we also received one map after the council meeting that will also be brought before you tonight for consideration. That map was posted within 7 days of tonight's hearing, so it is in compliance with all state laws. And we have here tonight Douglas Johnson, President of National Demographics Corporation, to go over those 5 maps as well as the additional map that was submitted. So, Doug?
Welcome, Doug.
Thank you. Mayor, members of council, it's a pleasure to be back with you again. And it's great to see so many people engaged. I do so many of these meetings where the hall is empty, and it's very depressing. So it's good to see a change. Given the crowd, and obviously there's lots of comments, I will go through this fairly quickly, but I'm happy to answer any questions or come back in any detail that would be useful. First of all, as you're aware, and as the crowd's probably aware, this has been an extensive process. The city has spent a lot of time on outreach and engagement. So this started, of course, with the vote back in November to make the change. We then started with hearings back in January and have been through a process of hearings and draft maps and engagement. As Brett just mentioned, leading up to the May 9th meeting. And one thing with the orange map tonight, you may remember there was discussion of a map that had been received on May 9th. The new map tonight is that map. So we couldn't show it at that time because of the 7-day limit. So probably of more immediate interest is the schedule from here. The goal is obviously to hold a hearing this evening. The council can introduce the ordinance, which involves choosing a map and an election cycle this evening. If that happens, then the second reading, when the ordinance becomes final, would happen in the June 13th meeting. If not, that would all move back a step. And just to emphasize that these districts will phase in, with the first seat holding an election with the finish of one council member's term in 2018, and then the remaining 3 seats holding new elections in 2020. And then when the 2020 census data is released in early 2021, we'll revise the map. It won't be kind of the blank slate approach. It'll be more adjusting the lines, but there will be a redrawing of these lines before the 2022 election. Just very briefly, this is the same slide. We've talked about at every hearing. There are federal requirements for the maps. We must have an equal number of people within a few percent in each district. We must be sure we comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act, and we must avoid any racial gerrymandering. Race cannot be the predominant factor in the drawing of the lines. Where the decisions come down for the council and the public are in deciding which map best balances the traditional principles. So which one best respects the communities of interest, keeping those that want to be together, giving multiple representatives for those that want multiple representatives, and the council, when it adopted the criteria, said that downtown is one example that should have at least 2 council districts representing it. And we want the lines to be compact and contiguous. We want them to follow visible borders. Both of those are so that it's easy for the voters to understand where their lines are. When they want to go out and knock on doors, we want it to be easy for them to know which doors to knock on in that campaign. And then using whole census blocks, which is aimed at making sure we have the best possible population data. I mentioned the extensive outreach. As part of this, we've received 44 neighborhood maps where people drew their own neighborhoods. We've got 19 citywide maps that meet the equal population requirements and are contiguous. And then, of course, NDC added 3 more maps to that mix. And we're now at, I don't have a specific count, but we're well over 170 comments. And I made this PowerPoint a few days ago, so even before the information came in today and feedback you received today. So at the last hearing on May 9th, the council, as was mentioned, narrowed down that giant pool of maps to 5 focus maps, that are really aimed at the public so that the public knows which maps the council is most interested in and can focus their comments instead of having to spend their time covering 21 maps in 3 minutes. The first is the B. Johnson 1 map. I think the group was the Alliance for San Diego. If you remember the different groupings that I had at the last meeting, this is one that has a united east side of the city and a united west side of the city. In the middle, the districts are kind of vertical. Because of all the community interest in the specific demographics and mention of majority-minority number of districts, we've added that for each map. You can see on the top right. And we've also, I want to thank city staff actually. Throughout this process, there's been a discussion of the Middle Eastern and Chaldean community and how do we count them, because the census does a horrible job of it. And actually, it was city staff that came up and spotted the demographics in the language category that we have for each map from the Census Bureau. There's speaking English at home, speaking Spanish at home, speaking an Asian language at home, and speaking other language at home. And in El Cajon, obviously, the overwhelming majority of people who answer that as other are speaking Arabic at home. So we use that number as a Middle Eastern count. So you can see for each map, and then we can come back in detail if there's interest in it. And this has been posted on the web for, I believe, a week or more. Using that, we got a much better count of the Middle Eastern community in each district and citywide than we did with that Arabic ancestry question we tried at the beginning. So as you can see, this map has 2 majority-minority districts once we take the Middle Eastern community out of that, what the census considers the non-Hispanic white community. And that total minority is adding up Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, African American, and the Middle Eastern percentages. So that's the first map. The second map is E-Cook 1. This has a different approach. It's from a different group that I mentioned last time. It has 2 districts in the west end of the city and 2 districts in the east end of the city. As we discussed last time, it not only has 2 districts in downtown, it actually gets all 4 districts downtown. And as with any balancing or choosing of maps, in order to do that, it gets a little non-compact. So it's trading off what the author considered better representation for downtown and the community of interest in exchange for a little bit less compactness. This one also has 2 majority-minority districts in it. Then there's the green map that NDC drew, which similarly has 2 western and 2 eastern districts. It's a little bit more compact in the lines, and it follows Fletcher Hills Road in the west. And then the trade-off for that compactness question is, of course, that it's a little less compact in the center as we meet those population numbers. This one actually gets 4 majority-minority seats, which is the most of any map. But we know the trade-off there is that to get more majority-minority seats, it's less of a majority in each seat. So there's trade-offs in every one of these decisions. The P-Circo map, let's see again, it unites the west, it unites the east. This takes a different approach in the center of having essentially stacked center districts, 2 and 4 divided along Main Street. And this one actually has 3 majority-minority districts in it. And is definitely high on the compactness. It may be the most compact of the maps, and it does follow significant major roads in each case. And then the last of the 5 focus maps adopted by the council last time is the T. Brumfield map, which again has a united west, united east. Stacked center, but a little bit different. 3 and 4 are both below I-8 in this case. And you can see, again, fairly compact lines and 2 majority-minority districts. Then the new map that was mentioned at the last meeting, but drawn up after that, it's generally been referred to as the Orange 2 map. This was the old orange map that was not advanced as a focus map. But it has changes that were requested by the Middle Eastern community and the PANA group. In particular, you can see the square district in the middle, District 3, You get Magnolia to Washington to 2nd. And then 4 is downtown west of Magnolia over to the freeway, down to Chase, and then coming across on Chase. And again, you've got a United West and a United East. This one also has 2 majority-minority districts in it, and also extremely good at following major roads and high on the compactness scale as well. One thing I should note that actually was good the community raised this. District 1 in a couple of these maps and a couple of past proposals wraps around, which is a little bit of an odd shape, an odd look. But of course, if you know that area, it's the flats versus the hills, and Chase is a definite shift as it moves up into the hills. So it's not a random add-on to the district. It actually makes a lot of sense given the community and the makeup of that area. And that's true in a couple of places where that arm shows up. So we've got this, the details of each map side by side. These are the same numbers that were on the individual slides put together in case we want to discuss them at any point as a table. And then the other issue, of course, a secondary issue is which district would be up in 2018 versus which would be up in 2020. And in each case, we've just taken the approach of where the council member whose term ends in 2018 resides, that seat is the one that would be up in that year. It's subject to council decision, but that's our suggestion. So we've got 6 maps, the 5 focus maps, and the new one that came in. Of course, there are the 21 total maps that have come around that are still out there. And with that, I will wrap up my presentation and happy to answer any questions or before or after this.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have you back tonight, but let me see if there's any questions for you right now. Steve?
Orange 2 is a new map. Does it meet all the criteria for compactness and all the other criteria along with the 5 that were previously submitted?
Yes, it definitely does.
Any other questions now? Doug, thank you. We'll see you a little bit later in the evening, I'm sure. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I wanted to tell you a couple of things. First off, there are about 20 empty seats outside. There is a speaker set up so you can hear if you'd like to sit down. I know it's better to be inside, but that's what we have. So as it stands right now, if all the people that wanted to speak are going to speak, and I will give you all the chance to speak if you want, we'll probably be here about 3 to 4 hours. However, there's a way to compact that a little bit. If somebody before you has expressed basically the same thing that you're going to express, you could very quickly say, I agree with what the other speaker said and I support this map. And the more we do that, the faster we'll get to the resolution. But you can speak if you want. You'll get 2 minutes. We're going to call 3 or 4 people at a time. So if you would stand in line so that we can get quickly through the process. And with that, let's get started. If you can go ahead and call 3 people, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Humbert Cabrera, Eric Anderson, and Nuri Barka.
Nora, you can go first. This is Dr. Barka. Welcome.
Hi, Mayor Bilwell, City Council members, city staff. Thank you for allowing me to speak and represent my community. The Chaldean community, as you know, is a very well-established community in the city of El Cajon. And we are very proud to be a part of the city. We love our city, and we work very hard to be a good citizen in our city. We were able to bring our family values, our businesses, our education, everything that we have, our culture to this beautiful city and we are very proud of what we did so far. Our Chaldean community maybe represent one of the largest minority group in the city of El Cajon, and maybe one of the largest group of business owner in the city of El Cajon. So we are very proud of our successful business, and I am personally very proud to have the first and only biotech company in the city of El Cajon. So when it comes to our group, our minority group in the city of El Cajon, I'm speaking now on behalf of these Chaldean who are here and maybe many other Chaldean who could not make it. I represent the group Chaldean League, who is basically the major organization that is international group that has a good representation in El Cajon and in California. I also represent many of our non-profit group, the charity organization, and many association of the Chaldean, who are, many of them are present at this meeting. On behalf of all our community, I'm here to support the orange map for the city of El Cajon City Council election. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barker. Mr. Anderson, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Eric Anderson. I'm serving my second term as an elected member of the San Diego County Republican Central Committee. And I think I've made somewhat of a name for myself for being a watchdog within the party and holding our party members to high ethics and standards and away from personal politics. Tonight I want to compliment this council on their approach to redistricting. You didn't begin this 6 months ago. You began this 2 years ago. And that helps us avoid litigation and using our taxpayer money to defend things we shouldn't be defending and spending the money where we all need it to be spent. So I not only want to compliment you for approaching this out ahead, but I want to compliment you because this board is somewhat conservative and independent organizations like the ACLU have complimented you on your openness and your transparency. And so I want to compliment you on that as well. The reason I'm here tonight is because I understand a member of this council has lowered himself to the use of lawsuits or coercion or threats to get the council to go in a certain direction. And I understand these threats are not only being given towards the city, but to perhaps to some of you individually. The threat of litigation on its face is somewhat of an admission of a weak argument when we resort to something like that. It disappoints me, and I would like to ask this council, who has had a history of being thoughtful and principled, to be the same with this vote. The redistricting law that was up here asks that we respect communities, contiguous territory, and Fletcher Hills is a distinctive community with a distinctive geographic territory. And I ask that you just please don't set a precedent for responding to this type of coercion in our community. And let's let the community know that that type of behavior won't be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cabrera, by the way, I should point out that Mr. Cabrera was our Citizen of the Year last year.
Thank you, Mayor Bill Wells.
Thank you.
I wanted to come up and just actually give kudos to the council and to the staff especially for doing such a great job on this process. It's been a really great pleasure to be part of the process, and I think that it's been said before, so I'm going to just keep it at that. However, in that, I was a member of several different groups, and I've actually kept my ear to the ground very well, as you all know, to the citizens. One of the groups, when we went there was a little bit of disenfranchisement, and I think it's something that disturbed me so much that I had to bring it up to you, because you're all good men. Some people, there were some city council members, I remember Bill Wells, the mayor, actually said, I'm going to stay out of those meetings because I don't want somebody to look like I'm pushing one way or another. But there was some city council members that went there. One stayed in the back, and another one was out front. And as a result, I know that at least 4 people at my table said, you know what, it's not worth putting my map in there because this is already decided. I just want you to know that. Now, as far as Fletcher Hills, I've seen that there's many meetings about the Fletcher Hills and having to split it or not. Instead of splitting it horizontally, I think we need to split it vertically because as a designer, draftsman, permit processor, there's topography. And I think we're missing the topography, the demographic of people that are in the valley as opposed to on the hill. So I think that it should be actually to the left of Cuyamaca. So I think if you took P Circle 1 and E Cook 1 and you actually ran Bradley all the way to Cuyamaca to the left, those are all apartments and condos down there. And you're including those people with the people on the hills. It doesn't make sense, especially since we know that the Magnolia School situation right now with the lawsuits that are going on. I went to Magnolia School. We know what happened with Contema. All the people in the valley went to Magnolia School. There is a serious community group there that's concerned about that. The people up on Fletcher Hill could care less about that. So I think we need to take that in consideration. I urge you to actually, if you want to take more time, take more time.
Just a quick question. Is there a map that you particularly recommend?
I actually would like to see P Circle 1 or E Cook 1 modified so that you take Bradley all the way down to where the new school is, that we're actually was the, and then it stops at the valley, and then there's a logical topography there where all the apartments end and all the nice houses start. That should be all one group.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The next 3 names are Gibran Haneni, Bonnie Price, and Reverend Gerald Brown.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
My name is Gibran Hanani, and I've been a resident of El Cajon for several years now. And basically, I have attended a few of these sessions pertaining to the demographics and the diversity maps. Recently, we attended a detailed session of explanation of the Orange 2 map, and that was submitted, that was presented by Mr. Muhammad Tharma. We asked a lot of questions, and there were a lot of good answers, and basically I do not see anything that will belittle Orange 2 map, and that's what I'm going with.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Price, welcome.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Price. As you know, I have a PhD in political science, and I happen to have specialized in urban development. I've looked at all these maps, and I think that I favor E-Cook 1 and also the NDC Green. I think that those keep populations of like interests together. And I also think they are very helpful to retention of the only Chaldean on the city council. I think that's very important, that immigrant communities who contributed so much to this city in terms of the economy are represented. And I know that Mr. Colossio's had town meetings in the evening so people can come forward with their thoughts and be heard and be represented. So for all these reasons, I urge you to support either E-Cook 1 or the Green NDC map. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Wells, City Council members. My name is Reverend Gerald Brown. If you remember, Mayor Wells, I was here for the unfortunate situation.
I do remember. If you've taken his time off of this, thank you so much for what you did for this community.
Well, I thank you and thank the council for what they do for the community as well. And I came this evening because I've been on the board of CSA of San Diego County for 10 years, for a decade here in El Cajon. And I came to talk about what we started with, the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are we united together as a community? And I also came to say that we're standing for B1, for B. Johnson 1, because we're looking at bringing communities together, communities that have been underserved, and to have representatives from two representatives for that area would be more than what the community needs, but we need that in that community. And so I want to see that the Chaldean and also our Muslim brothers and sisters, our Arab brothers and sisters come together and we stand together as one in this community. I know, Mayor, that that's the desire of your heart. You may not be able to say it, but you want to see all of us together as one. And so that's what I wanted to say this evening. And I can stand here and say, God bless you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Amen to that.
The next three speakers are Estela de los Rios, George Ibarra, and Nadir Al-Sumeri.
And by the way, I want to thank you all. You're doing a great job of moving through this quickly.
I have something. Can I?
Yes, go ahead. Give it to the clerk, please.
Good evening, and once again, Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I applaud you and I commend you for the decisions you have to make, right? But I also am thankful that we are part of the process. As I mentioned earlier, you gave us that opportunity. And I'm giving you this map because, and I'm here, by the way, again, for B. Johnson 1. We've been there from the very beginning, and as you all know, we had a professional demographer that assisted us with this from UCLA, who is very prominent. And in front of you are the City of El Cajon low and moderate income areas. And according to CDBG and HUD guidelines, if you notice there, some of these areas, particularly the brown area, if you can look at the brown area, which is, if someone can narrow in on the B. Johnson 1 map, there's some similarities there. And I just want to go by percentages. If you notice, the pink area represents 31 of the population. The green area represents 51 of the population. But the brown area, which reflects to District 3 and 4 of the B. Johnson 1, reflects the City of El Cajon low and moderate income areas where a lot of renters are, a lot of complexes are, and our communities of interest. I want to say all our communities, everyone in here, is a very diverse and rich community, and I respect all of them, and I would like to respect all of them and have a district that represents all of us, which is District 3 and District 4 in the B. Johnson 1. Again, if you take a look at it, it represents low to moderate income areas, which this is the communities of interest that I believe would be more effective, and if you would give us the opportunity, please, again, I cannot ask so much about how this would give us an opportunity to work with you and have a voice together, all of our communities along with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Wells and Honorable Mayor Wells and Council. My name is George Ibarra. I'm with the Unified Communities of El Cajon Coalition. We are an all-inclusive coalition. We leave no one out of the picture here. I want to thank you first and foremost for the opportunity to speak tonight and advocate on behalf of the B. Johnson 1 map. As a proud Reagan Republican, yes, I said Reagan Republican, and a firm believer in our democratic process and constituent of this great city, constituent of this great city, I'm reaching out to you as civil servants to fully consider and endorse the B. Johnson 1 map. The B. Johnson 1 map has fully considered all communities of interest within the city of El Cajon. I recall Mayor Wells a couple weeks ago, you said that you're colorblind, and that's a good thing, but we also must include ethnicity, to be blind of ethnicity, a person's ethnicity, and race. The B. Johnson map is largely based on socioeconomic status of said district so as to ensure that more working-class communities are in common district. And with your endorsement and full acceptance of this map, it will ensure that said working-class communities will have a representative on City Council to represent their issues, their grievances, and find a more immediate resolution to their issues that at present are being ignored or are taking a long time to be resolved, especially those related to class, income, and city services. The B1 Johnson map fully takes into account physical boundary divisions as well as to keep communities together, both south and east of the Interstate 8. District 3 and 4 both have high percentage of renters and apartment buildings. District 1 and 2 have higher percentages of single-family homes and residents who own their homes. Both Districts 3 and 4 have a high percentage of non-English speakers which have common policy issues related to language and city services. District 3 and 4 are a majority minority community, a protected class under the common policy issues, and I guess my time is done. I'll finish up here real quick here.
It's fine.
Mayor Lewis, ex-Mayor Lewis, former Mayor Lewis of El Cajon, and this I'm quoting the San Diego Tribune, said, district elections would not make sense in the city of under 100,000. We are very diverse, so it would be unworkable to have people from every group of the council, said Lewis, noting that people from more than 70 ethnic groups live in El Cajon. Lewis said district elections can polarize communities because you'll end up with a lot of discord and controversy if people worry about their own groups. He said he was confident El Cajon residents feel their council represents the whole city. Well, to date, that has not happened. That is why we're requesting of you as civil servants to do the right thing, to be fair and equitable and fully endorse and choose B. Johnson Map 1 that is going to represent all the citizenry of El Cajon. I remember my civics class in school, and to date I still believe in the democratic process of this country and of this great state. Be the nucleus and the example of what is right. Let's do the same for all the newcomers to our great city. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Ladies and gentlemen, in fairness to everybody, when the light turns red, please end it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council members, and city staff. My name is Nadir Asomari. I worked for about 2 years for our school district, and I worked as English language development assistant. I was interpreting to most of our families, especially families with special students, and we are Iraqis. We talk a lot. We express our opinions, about thoughts, about concerns to each other. And based on this experience with my people, the city that I live in, I support Orange 2. For this, I would like to first allow me to quote our mayor's statement. District voting will give the citizens improved access to their elected representatives who lives in their neighborhood. So, and let's remember that the purpose of Measure S was to offer an improved opportunity for representation for minority voters, so that 69% of El Cajon voters approved this measure. And as we all know, El Cajon city is a hub for newcomers, and it is one of the most ethnically and culturally diverse communities. Therefore, and as we remember, America on Main Street a few days ago was a celebration that showed how wonderful, melting pot is our city. And Orange 2 will keep this image, will maintain this image for sure. Orange 2 also met all the requirements of the city approved criteria. It contains nearly equal residents in each district. It complies with the Federal Voting Rights Act. The districts consist of contiguous, compacted territories, and it is very clear that the district borders follow visible, natural, and man-made geographic and topographic features. 2 districts included voters in similar numbers residing in downtown. No gerrymandering. And finally, Orange 2 did respect communities of interest. Orange 2 district divide the city into 2 groups, residents of Valley and the residents of the mountains.
Sure.
Groups.
We're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay. Anyway, I'm supporting this Orange 2. And there's a lot to say.
I know there's a lot to say.
Yeah. I no need to mention the income and the language and everything and the compactness that Orange 2 have. And thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Next, we have Dr. Thalbit Khalaf, Jawdat Alobedi, and Gloria Martes.
Doctor, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. I support Orange 2, and I'm not going to repeat what my friend had just said, but instead I'm going to tackle the matter from my profession. I am professor of architecture, so this is our city. I have been living here for about 8 years now. Whatever happens, obviously you are going to choose one of these maps. But what concerns me most is the fact that when I look at Valley Floor, the development, and compare it to the rest of the districts, as well also when I compare this development to international standard, we in El Cajon, we are facing a problem. This problem we have to solve. And now we have an opportunity. The opportunity that we have now is the fact that we are making districts. And now, when I look at Orange 2, I found the area so well identified that we can put our effort together for two things. First of all, we should be able to also identify where our weaknesses in the city are. Also, take the opportunity now for the great effort that people are interested in really supporting what you're doing. So we have a great opportunity for the future for our children to develop the area, because the spaces and environment for Valley Floor really need a lot of attention and a lot of development, because the environment over there is really at the moment is well below international standard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Phil?
Yes.
Phil?
I'm sorry.
If we could not clap after everybody talks, this would get through a lot faster. We've done that in other council meetings, and it works pretty well. So if you don't have the applause each time, it just speeds it up a lot. So thank you to be careful with that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Bill Wells, City Councils, and City staff. And thank you for this opportunity for districting map. Everybody know that you are doing a great job for many months. And people here are attending because this important meeting for our present and our future. My name is Jawdat Al-Ubaidi. I am resident of El Cajon City, founder and director of ICD, Iraqi Center for Dialogue, exempt organization. We've been doing this business for almost 4 years in El Cajon City. We support the Middle Eastern community activities and engagement with American community. Our first priority is to help the community, the Middle Eastern community, to integrate with American community. We always doing event and pushing the community for more engagement, social and any other engagement in the community. I'm here representing my organization, the Iraqi Center for Dialogue, and I'm here to support, and I'm asking you, gentlemen, to approve the map Orange 2, because it is represent the majority of community, and it is represent the majority of the people who attend here today, and represent many people who cannot make it tonight here. The boundaries of this map is very clear and well-known streets. It's easy to be used by citizens and government agencies. It represents the linguistic diversity
and social diversity. So again, please, I would like to ask to approve and support Orange 2.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am, welcome.
Hi. Good evening. I'm here tonight as a proud Democrat in support of MAPS Green and ECOOK 1. El Cajon is moving forward. We don't need to be bogged down in a legal battle. These two maps should keep that from happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speakers are James Elia, Eugene Cook, and Ingrid Visuat.
Mr. Elia, welcome.
Mayor Wells, council members. I want to say first, my name is James Elia. I'm a proud firstborn generation Chaldean American here. And I just want to give props to my community for the diversity that's shown up tonight, especially the Iraqi community that's came in full force. And gentlemen, I want to congratulate you all as well too. After all, you guys are leaders of our community, and we elected you because of that leadership. We needed you, which is why you all won your elections. We trust you guys, and we depend on you to make the right, moral, just decisions. As you see, we live in a melting pot here in El Cajon, and we have a lot of ethnicity and cultural things to celebrate within our city. We have the historic landmark part of the city, which is Fletcher Hills, that I strongly recommend not breaking up. We have Granite Hills, which has long been a home to, gosh, just about every single famous person coming out of El Cajon, Jeff Gordon, or the Jimmy Johnson. You know, it's a shame that we're even having this debate on breaking up historical differences. And let's be honest, this is a gerrymandering thing. We already know that. Mayor Bill Wells made that very clear. You know, so I ask you guys to remember what President Franklin D. Roosevelt said, which is, in times of style, swim with the current. But in terms of doing what's moral and just, stand firm like a rock. All you gentlemen have the moral obligation and the leadership skills to pick the map that is right. And we're holding you to it. We need you guys. And if you oppose this, you will lose the ability to lead in this community, and we will fight you over it. We will make sure we will be represented in the community. So again, I ask you, don't think about your political careers. Think about what's right for the faces you see here in this room tonight. Thank you.
James, which map did you want?
I think it's obvious. We have Orange 2 and we have B. Johnson 1.
Thank you.
To me, I'm happy with either map. I think either one is a great sign of progression, and it is a representation of what we have in this room, and diversity is good.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Hello. I'm Eugene Cook, the person who submitted the ECOOK 1 map. I'm a long-term resident, went to Granite Hills, graduated in '77. In the last 45 years, I've lived in 3 of the districts I've mapped out there as a long-term renter. I kind of drew this up into 4 corners, and tried to make it as equitable and as equal as possible. It's my best effort, and I advocate for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Wells and council members. My name is Nestor Espinosa. I'm a teacher, proud teacher here in El Cajon, and I'm going to be translating for Miss Ingrid.
Welcome.
Buenas noches, respetables del concilio mayor de la ciudad. Aquí estoy para agradecerles por todo el bien que han hecho por la ciudad del Cajon.
Good evening, Mayor Wells, council members. I'm here tonight to really express my gratitude for all the work that you've done for the city of Cajon.
Vengo a apoyar al mapa D. Johnson 1.
I'm here in support of B. Johnson 1.
Porque nosotros vamos a ganar una mejor calidad de vida. Y eso va a redundar en que la gente sea más feliz. Y una gente feliz da lo mejor de sí para sí misma y para los demás.
Together, what I'm trying to state here is that we're trying to achieve, for individuals to really gain happiness together. And when we work together and people are happy, they're able to produce happier decisions and a happier quality of life.
Lograremos más con el menor esfuerzo. Así lo dice Deepak Chopra en su libro Las 7 leyes del éxito.
As Deepak Chopra states, we will obtain more with minimum effort in this case.
Vengo portando un listón azul que lo creó una americana, Free Chest, para decir, porque dice, ¿quién soy yo que hace una diferencia en esta sociedad?
Before you translate, can you turn off the light? We'll go ahead and give her some more time since the translation issue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. I'm here tonight showing off this ribbon that says, "Who I am makes a difference." That was given to me.
De hecho, traigo uno para cada uno de ustedes, si me permiten pasar y dárselos. Estamos en un despertar de la conciencia. Así es lo que se ve en esta ciudad. Vamos a trabajar todos juntos en el servicio.
And if I'm allowed, I really would like to gift you one of these ribbons that states, "Who I am makes a difference." In the city of El Cajon, everybody here is going through an awakening where we are coming together to create something better.
Gracias, gracias, gracias. Y como dijo César Chávez, sí se puede.
Thank you very much. And like Cesar Chavez once said, yes, we can. Is she allowed to give you one?
You can give it to the city clerk. She'll thank you for the gift.
Okay, I'll next recite the next three names, and I apologize, I can't make out this full name, but it's Daniel Garden, and Gardenscourt. And then Ali Al-Behadili and Ayad Matthews.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen, honorable councilmen. Thank you for having me here. As you know, I was able to send you gentlemen a letter a few days ago, and in response to, I think, one of my colleagues up here, I wanted to first indicate that the intent of that is to be actually transparent. And as you know, I represent Mr. Cajon, and there's no threat involved in that. What the principle here is involved is the democratic principles, and there's a lot of good reasons that I'm sure all of you gentlemen could decide for any one of these maps. We've heard a lot of people describe various reasons why they might advocate for any one map or another. And my point, the reason I'm here is certainly not to advocate for any particular map, but to advocate for a principle, and that is what the decisions that should not roll into mind with respect to any particular map. And one is clearly a legal one, and that is decisions based on race. We learned that as recently as yesterday when the Supreme Court reiterated that principle. And the second one that I hope you'll agree with me, and we can argue about whether it's a legal principle or not, is that of partisanship. And I'm hoping that you can agree that partisanship should play no role in any of the maps that you select today. And I don't know if you'd be willing to agree with that on me or not, but certainly that is the position that I believe my client takes, and that I believe the community would take as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sir.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Ali Al-Bahadali. I'm resident of Al Cajon longer than I lived in Baghdad. First of all, I would like to thank you and thank the audience actually for making it tonight. It's a progress to see people being part of decision making in our city of Al Cajon. I would like to express that I fully supported B. Johnson 1 for two main reasons. First reason is that B. Johnson 1, District 3 and 4 represent 51% of Al Cajon residents. Regardless of their racial background, ethnicity, they share one thing in common, which is their economic status. By giving them this opportunity to be directly involved in policy within their city, we will see outcome of this. First of all, the new community that are developing these districts, give them the feeling that they are directly involved, will result to be more productive within the city of Al Cajon. Second, we will see more services provided to these two districts and to their residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
I'm a little too short. All right.
It's okay.
All right. May it please the mayor, council members, and city staff. I stand before you today. My name is Ayad Matthews. I stand before you today as an American citizen and a member of the El Cajon community in support of the Orange 2 map, which is under consideration today. This map has been constructed with respect given to communities residing within each district. For example, relying on the 2010 census, within District 3, there's a shared culture that ranges from similar ancestral languages, history, and social norms. Additionally, there's a significant similarity in the percentage of the population that lives in multi-family housing, which is about 70%, as well as household income, where 41% of the population residing in that district makes about at or below $25,000 a year. There's also a relatively high percentage of immigrants residing within District 3 and 4, respectively. These factors, when combined, they contribute to a way of life where there is, from which arises common issues and unique beliefs, where there is a need for a representative who could understand these struggles and effectively address them. The construction of this map allows for the populations of District 3 and 4 independently to form a majority-minority coalition where the voices of their communities will be given sufficient representation. I say the following with trepidation, given my limited knowledge in the legal arena, but my interpretation of the map suggests that it meets the required criteria for compactness, contiguity, and attention to communities of interest. With this, I close and thank each one of you for giving me your time and consideration as well as the map. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next three are Mufed Suleiman, Sabri Jabo, and Elaine Briggs.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, Mayor Wells, council members. My name is Elaine Briggs. I am a 28-year resident of El Cajon, and I stand here in support of E-Cook 1, mainly because all council members would be responsible for the downtown area. That way we have not only long-term residents who live in El Cajon being represented, but also the downtown area, which we have lots of renters. These people come and go. And I think it would be most important that all four council members take an active part in revitalizing the downtown area. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Okay, the next speakers are Mary Marshall, Mohammed Tuama, and Eva Pacheco.
Ms. Marshall, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
My name's Mary Marshall, and I'm a resident of East County. I'm also a public school teacher, and I don't speak in public very often, but when it comes to children and families, I try to get out there and make my voice heard. First, I want to say that I believe that the purpose of government is, including local government, is to serve the people. El Cajon has a diverse population with regards to residents, businesses, and visitors. Therefore, El Cajon City Council should represent that diversity. In addition, I believe that government offices should be held to a high standard, both legally and morally. Because of these beliefs and my commitment to representational democracy, I strongly urge you to adopt a redistricting map that is devoid of gerrymandering. It appears to me that only the two only maps that do that meet that criteria, are the green map and the E-Cook one. So I stand with Dr. Price, Mr. Cook, and Councilman Colasso, and possibly many of the families in this room for a redistricting that is both fair and representational. So I stand in support of E-Cook 1. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor. Thank you very much. Council member and city staff. My name is Mohammed Tuama. I'm a resident of El Cajon and homeowner here for the last 7 years. I'm a volunteer in the community. I spend most of my time volunteering for my Middle Eastern language-speaking community, which are Chaldean, Arabic, Kurdish, and Farsi, and trying to help with any community issues that arise here. I worked in electricity utility boxes when there were graffiti. We removed them and we painted nice painting, and we brought the biggest job fair here in East County in 2014. When we heard about the district election that people should vote or we will be sued as a city, we said no. So I volunteered with the NDC to engage my community and let them know about what's going on, and thank God everything passed and measured as passed. And I volunteer again with the workshops about the maps and try to engage more of my community with the map selections. And we came up with the Orange 2 map, which I believe everything good was said about this map and how compacted it is and how easy to recognize the boundaries. A lot of good things to be said, and especially when you talk about the communities of interest. If language, culture, and local landmarks is not really famous or clear as clear for communities of interest, District 3 has 70% multi-housing. That's only in District 3. And it has 80% renters. So I believe Orange 2 map has a lot of shared things within the districts. So it should be as a district, or should be adopted, or not telling you that should be adopted, but it should be considered as District 3 and District 4 represent minorities and majority minorities within both districts. So I hope that you can consider Orange 2 for the map this time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming, Mohammed.
Next, we have Jesus Pacheco, Kevin Miller, and Paul Serco.
Mr. Pacheco, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members and staff, especially Mr. Mitchell. I'm been living in this city for almost 29 years, in around Main Street, you know. Can be a little bit at the end of Main Street, in the middle, you know, for these 28 years. And most of the people and around and left and right are low income or moderate income people. And it's important to appreciate that we live there because many reasons. Transportation is one of them, you know. It's easy for us to move to and take the freeway or take the bus and go to, you know, stores, hospitals, etc., etc., etc. And also, we have many things in common, you know. In MAP 1B Johnson unites all of the people that lives around Main Street, and the maps represents that. That's why I believe is a good chance that we have two representatives of the City Council that represents our interest. And also, I will say that even though we left a little bit of the part of the community in the north and south, but in general speaking, the majority of B. Johnson represents, you know, that community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller, welcome.
Mayor Wells, City Council, staff, I will make it brief. I live and work in Fletcher Hills, and I serve on a lot of committees here in El Cajon, the Chamber of Commerce, the Homeless Task Force, the Economic Development Council, and also was part of the process of educating the community in this, and you're doing a great job. I appreciate your hard work and digging in and being so transparent, and I love the fact that I see democracy working. Paul Circo is going to come up. I'll defer my time to him because, quite frankly, I think his map makes a lot of sense to me, and it keeps Fletcher Hills in one piece. Thank you.
Thank you. And the famous Paul Circo of the Circo map.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. I looked through all the maps and I made comments on all of them, but in the interest of time, I'm going to advocate for my own map. I believe it's more compact than most of the other maps. East and west are whole. You've heard a lot about Fletcher Hills and Granite Hills and how they are communities of interest. All four of the maps have a perimeter. I'm sorry, I'm a big Risk player. I like that board game. And seeing the maps with a district in the middle made me nervous. That's just feeling. It has no bearing on reality. But I was like, I don't know. There's no edge. So just saying, all four of the districts on my map have a perimeter. We have 3 districts that represent downtown. The north and the south districts are unique to my map where they're central, they cover the valley floor, and in addition, as I learned tonight from the new demographic numbers, 3 of the 4 districts are majority-minority districts. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Next, we have Oris Al-Safar, Devora Fox, and Barry Butler.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, I just want to present that.
That's fine.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor and committee. So my name is Zora Salsafar.
Yeah, can you pull? We can't hear you. If you can pull the mic down, thanks.
I'm not tall enough. So my name is Zora Salsafar, and I'm from the RLA El Cajon. Probably I'm not going to say all the big words because they already say it, but I'm going to support the orange too. And we already submit some of the signatures for the people. And I'm going to tell you something. This is the only map who keep the little Baghdad as same as it is. I moved from North Carolina over here just for that reason. Moved from the ghost cities over here just for that reason. So please support the orange too. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dr.
Ladies and
Devora.
gentlemen, please. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Devora Fox, and I'm speaking in favor and support of the Eugene Cook 1 map and the green map. I'm going to get choked up, excuse me. I teach Sunday school to Iraqi refugees who came in from Mosul over at St. Thomas Syriac Orthodox Church. And when I gave the maps that would support and keep someone who is Arabic speaking, Syriac speaking, allowing that person, Ben Kalasho, to have a chance, even just a chance, to stay on the city council. Everyone I handed a map to signed it. I only brought 90 maps, and I really regret that, because everyone was so supportive and it was so important. I don't know if other people talking in support of the other maps realize that they would squeeze out the one Syriac Arabic-speaking council member. A little girl came to me in the beginning of Sunday school the other day with a little zip change purse. And she said, "See all the money I have." And I said, "Wow, what are you going to do with that?" And she said, "I'm going to put it in the fountain." I said, "Oh, what are you going to wish for?" And she said, "I'm wishing that my daddy gets here so he can join us, because they're doing his paperwork in Baghdad still. I want her mother to be able to go to someone who speaks Arabic when she needs support and her husband isn't here. And I want, when he gets here, to know that he has someone on the city council who understands building businesses here and whom he can go to who speak his language." Thank you.
Thank you. Well, sir, back again. Nice to see you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff. Nice to see you, sir. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be here again today. I'm not a politician, as you know. I'm just a single father who lives in Granite Hills, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran who put his life on the line for most of the people here in the different communities to be here. And I'm asking for Johnson B1 map to be approved for the simple fact, for it to be fair. I risk my life for this country to help make it fair. I think this gentleman's an attorney. He made the statement that it's against the law for anything to be based on race. I need to inform you that this country was built on decisions of race, and it's still doing it today. From slavery on. I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I've lived in El Cajon for 14 years. And as I stated to this council before when I was here, at least every other month, I get called the N-word. Right now to this day, I have surveillance cameras and an alarm system in my home to watch over my 14-year-old son, not from being robbed, but to make sure he's safe when I'm not there, because I'm not welcome in my community where I use my VA loan to buy a home. I'm asking for, again, a seat at the table. Dr. King once wrote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort or convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. You gentlemen stand in the time of controversy. This is the time for faith and taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase in front of you. And one last thing. The elephant in the room is the racial divide of equality at the table, and it must be addressed at the top before it could trickle down to the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next card is from the Iraqi community soccer team.
Hi, are you the spokesperson?
Yeah.
Good. All right.
I'm short, but
No, it's okay. Go ahead. Since you're speaking for like 25 people, I'll give you, as much time as you need. So go ahead.
all right. Good evening, City Council.
Sweetheart, can you pull the microphone down so we can hear you? Okay. And speak right into it. Okay.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mariam Shabu, and I'm here to represent my team. So, closer?
Yeah, right up to the mic. Yeah.
Okay. I'm nervous.
You're doing fine.
Okay. So, I'm sorry for that.
Don't be afraid of the mic, it won't bite you. So get up close to it so we
Okay.
can all hear you.
All right. We are El Cajon residents. We are all in high school. And all of us are soccer players of the Iraqi soccer team. And most of us live in apartment complexes. But we all share the same dreams and we all have the same living situations. So we're here to ask you today to please consider Orange 2 map because it cares about It cares about our issues in a proper cultural way. And I know that most of you might say, we're just kids, like we don't know anything about these maps. But I disagree with that because we're not just some kids, we're your future. And I think that our concerns should be considered as equally as the rest of the speakers here today. Thank you.
Well, I want to tell you, I'm glad you guys came. I'm glad you're part of the process. That's really important. It's commendable that somebody your age would care. Thank you.
Next we have Kovu, Andrea Beth Damsky, and Ingrid Lopez.
Another Marine.
Right? Yay, Marines get
Yes,
claps.
can you clap for as a United States Marine?
Thank you. All right, good evening, Mayor, staff, gentlemen. I had something I wanted to say, and I thought really hard on it, and I kept playing it back and over in my head to figure out what it was, and then I decided to just shut up and listen. So I started to listen to what people coming up were saying. One of the people I listened to was a lawyer, and I don't want a map that goes up that's going to get shot down. And he said one of the things that would get a map shot down is if it was based on just race. And I thought about that. It needs to be based on something more important than race. Community. And if I look at the community right here, and I look at who came last time, and I look at who's actively engaged, we need maps that reflect the community. I listened to an older woman who came up here and said she wanted to make sure that every map had a piece of downtown. The map I support does that. And if you don't know, that's B. Johnson, by the way. I listened to kids. I don't call them kids. I listened to the future come up here and talk about their current situation, about being able to have somebody come out here, and actually the other lady said she wanted to have someone come out here who could speak about when their father got out here, he can have somebody who spoke his language. My map does that. Well, not my map. Our map has that. Our coalition has gone to every single district out here that exists, and held classes and talked to people about it, and it represents truly every community out here. So I would say be a Johnson one. It's not really that hard.
Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Andrea Beth Damsky. I'm a business owner in the Fletcher Hills neighborhood of El Cajon. I live in La Mesa, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the San Diego Progressive Democratic Club as its vice president. In my job as vice president of that club, I do a lot of bridge building across communities and learn about issues all across San Diego County. And it's come to my attention that my friends in El Cajon, in the Middle Eastern Chaldean community, are in support of the Orange 2 map, and we'd like to lend their support and ask you to vote for that one tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members and staff and everyone here tonight. I am a resident of the City of El Cajon, and I am here today to support my community, which is your community too. I'd like to start by congratulating the City of El Cajon for having a charter school with the Spanish-English immersion program to serve my community, and to allow other schools within the city to have the same program. It's awesome. That opens up a ton of opportunity for everyone here in our community in the city of El Cajon, our city. Making our city stronger for everyone, for our future, the millennials, for our families, for professionals, for more business opportunities. But just by knowing the language, you will not be successful. You need to know your market, the people to do business with, their needs. And because of this simple yet real business reality, I would love to see someone who knows my market, who understands my community, someone that will work to better our community. That is why I stand here tonight to support V. Johnson 1 map. This map will give our community a chance to have diversity, a chance to represent my community, your community. Thank you for giving me this opportunity tonight, and there's nothing to fear, and there's a lot to be accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marquise Parks, Jesus Ruiz, and Disquaz Ahmed.
Belinda, just out of curiosity, how many more on the list?
Several.
1 second, sir.
Excuse me. After this group, I just have one other card.
Oh, okay. We're getting through. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city staff, and all men on the city council. I got into politics in this city the day Alfred Alongo got killed. I remember going to the city council candidate town hall meeting over at the college. Remember seeing Mr. Goebel, Colossal, some other candidates that didn't make the council. And it got me involved in my city politics a little more than just reactionary according to somebody's death. And I got involved with the Lions San Diego and a young lady named Brisa Johnson. So I do support B. Johnson 1 map, where I learned that if we got Measure S passed in this city, we have city council members who represented the actual people of El Cajon City. So I went about engaging in my community, doing more than just being reactionary to the tragic events that followed. So when we got Measure S to pass in the city of El Cajon, when we came to all these workshops to learn how to teach our people about, educating about what needs to be going on, and developing this map into breaking into districts, we took into great consideration the actual citizens of El Cajon City, which is a lot of these people sitting in this room. And looking at the council, it doesn't look like that's the reflection of the representation of the people sitting behind me. B. Johnson One Map is a great way to start to see that diversity on the council seats, as well as proper representation and voices of the community that will help out in crisis, and they help keep our city safe and trust back into those who are earned to serve and protect us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Bill Wells, and council members. And
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
it's okay. That's fine. I just walked in half an hour ago, actually more than that, and I see this room full of people of many cultures, faces, young kids talking to adults, man. I feel like you guys have a huge decision to make today. You guys are leaders, very good leaders, and I've been here in El Cajon for the past 22 years. I have 3 kids, and they're all going to this great school that helps us maintain our culture, our language. I have no big words to say, but I will say that B. Johnson One will represent and will complete this messed up thing that's going on right now. But I urge you, and I'll be praying after I leave here. I'll be praying to God that you guys make the right and very conscious decision, considering everybody that showed up today, and urge you 100% to consider B. Johnson One. Thank you. And
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hello. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk. My name is Delquas Ahmed, 16 years resident in El Cajon, and 15 years executive director for an organization called License to Freedom in El Cajon. Organization's mission to promote nonviolence through community education, self-sufficiency, and advocacy for refugee and immigrant survivors of domestic violence. Through our organization, I was able to help more than 3,500 survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and trafficking. We were able to provide them with safe space. Our organization was not just focusing on providing direct services and crisis intervention, but we also provide education and prevention, including ESL class, acculturation, health literacy program, and we work with the faith Muslim leaders and other faith leaders in El Cajon. I'm a homeowner, and I have a wonderful husband who fight Al-Qaeda in Iraq for a long time with the American Marines. What I want to say is unity. I'm talking about unity. To be honest, if I want to choose, I choose all of them, because people who live on those maps, they are human and they are people, so their life is matter. As an Iraqi woman who I represent, who working for 15 years in El Cajon, who went through a lot of houses, today we just heard about Chaldean. In El Cajon we have Kurdish, we have Arabic, we have Kakai, we have Baha'i, we have Syrian that nobody mentioned them, you know? If we talk about unity, let's talk about I.B. Johnson, who represent the unity and the division of everybody. We can't build El Cajon and move forward unless we start to accept each other, love each other, and create a safe space, not just for ourselves, for our kids who grew up and go to school. The school include Muslim, Arab. We don't want a division. We need inclusive and unity, and I think I.B. Johnson will provide that for the city of El Cajon. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I have two more cards. Darrell Paulus and Eva Pacheco.
Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members and city staff. I would like to mention many important points that already Dr. Nori Baraka talked about, Muhammad, and many of my community representatives talked about Orange 2. Orange 2 represents our community because it starts from Magnolia to Second. It's the only map contains this area, and from the 8th freeway to the Washington, which meets our needs as a Middle Eastern. We collect signature for 1,000 and more of Middle Easterns who lives there. Leaders of our community are Dr. Muhammad and Dr. Nori Baraka, who leads the community of Chaldean and Middle Eastern. So we hardly represent Orange 2 and want you to meet our needs for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I understand that the last name that I called, Eva Pacheco, is not present, so at this point, I have no other cards for this item.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, first, I want to commend you for your politeness and for your professionalism throughout this process. With a crowd this size, you don't usually get that. Thank you very much. We are going to take a short 5-minute break, and then we will come back, and the council will then discuss what we've heard tonight, and we'll make a decision. So take 5 minutes, and we'll come back.
Mayor, would you like to close the public hearing before you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I make a motion to close the public hearing. Please vote. Okay.
The motion carries by unanimous vote.
Public hearing is closed. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Claro,
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started again. So I want to tell you what's going to happen next. And I'm going to ask for your cooperation in the rest of the process. So the way this works is we had the public hearing, and everybody got a chance to speak. I'm glad you all did. At this point, it's going to come back to the council. Now, there may be things that get discussed up here that you disagree with, and you feel strongly that you want to set the record straight. To run an orderly meeting, we really can't do that. So we can't be going back and forth and answering questions between the crowd and the people on the dais. So at this point, it's going to stay with the city council. The city council is probably going to call the consultant back up. They may call another witness up for clarification of something. If you get called, that'd be great. Come on up and speak. So we're going to go ahead and do that at this point, and thank you for your cooperation. So council, you've heard the public. Now is a chance for us to have our discussion. Our consultant is here. If at any time, if you want to call the consultant up, please just ask me. I'll be glad to do so. Anybody want to speak first? No, huh? Well, I guess we're done here. I tell you what, let's go ahead and call our consultant up at this point. And before I start with questions, first off, could you just tell the crowd just a little bit about who you are and what your firm does and what your track record is?
Oh, sure, happy to. Our firm is National Demographics Corporation. We've been drawing election districts for cities and school districts and water districts and a couple of states since 1979. So we've done this a lot. And since the California Voting Rights Act really kicked in 2006, we have done the line drawing, including jurisdictions we're working with now, for I think about 50 of the 55 cities. We've worked with over 90 school districts. We actually did the redistricting in 2011 for the city of San Diego down the road. And so we've done a lot of this. I've been the president of the company since 2006 and enjoy every jurisdiction is different.
And I just want to point out that you're a nonpartisan group. Is that true?
Oh, yes, definitely true. We're in this to make sure it's a legal and appropriate process and to assist with public engagement, which has been great to see how much the city has done here. And we also, I should mention, not only has none of our recommended plans ever lost a voting rights challenge, this will change someday, I'm sure, but none of the plans we've drawn has ever actually been challenged in court on a voting rights challenge.
That's great. I appreciate that. And you have a good working relationship with the ACLU?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's one of our claims to fame is we only work for jurisdictions. We don't work on the plaintiff side. But often the local activists that either brought a lawsuit or sent the letter end up as our recommenders after the process is done because we do just try to play fair.
Thanks for clarifying all that. So you heard what the public had to say. Obviously, in my estimation of judging the crowd, B. Johnson was very popular. The orange map was popular. And to a lesser degree, the Serco map and the green and the Cook map. Having heard people's arguments, is there anything that you wanted to point out to us or discuss with us?
I would just agree with your list. I was trying to keep notes, and by my rough tally, it was actually 12 comments for Orange 2 and 12 comments for B. Johnson 1. Not that it's a vote of the commenters, but because you also have petitions and things like that, but it was remarkably even split. And one thing that's worth mentioning, as you heard, many of the commenters for each map had very similar comments. It's largely because the maps are very similar. And I do want to emphasize that. They differ very much on the internal division, which I can talk about in a second. But in terms of the outside borders, let me go back so I can see the details. Let me start with Orange 2 because it's simpler. You can see the borders for Orange 2, if you look at the outside of 3 and 4, are really First Street and with a little jog below Washington, and then the freeway and Chase. And it's very essentially a square. If you look at the B. Johnson map, it's very similar. It goes past First Street. It actually goes out to Main Street. This is Main coming up, and then it jogs around a bit. In order to offset what happens on the west side of District 4, where it's zigging and zagging along, one of the things I was disappointed no one mentioned is why those zigs and zags. I'm not clear on what the difference is between Marshall Street, which is the west edge of 4, and the freeway. Why have those lines? But that's really the difference. Just to give you a sense of location, this area where 1 comes up, that's Renette. I may pronounce this wrong. Renetta Park? Renette Park. So Renette Park is actually the corner of 4 that wraps around, and the neighborhood above Renette Park is above. I was hoping there'd be explanation. We talked about this last time. We need an explanation for that. But that space is really the difference. Whether you have zig and zag or whether you go to the freeway is really the only big difference between the two maps externally. And the numbers reflect that. In terms of renters, Orange 2 is 80% and 69% renters. The Johnson 1 map is 72 and 76.
When you're talking about districts 3 and 4?
Right, sorry, districts 3 and 4. 80 and these all have a couple percent margin of error on these numbers. So
I'm sorry. So if you could say that again. So in comparing the Johnson map and the Orange map, areas 3 and 4, how do they compare with renters?
In terms of renters in Orange 2, 3 and 4 are 80% and 69%, and Johnson is 72 and 76. In terms of apartment residents, Orange 2 has a little bit more concentration in that it's 70 and 55, versus Johnson is 59 and 64. But we're getting, as you're seeing, heavy majorities in both districts in all these. Arabic speakers are almost identical. 22, this is speaking other language at home, 22% and 26% in Orange 2, 20 and 25% in B. Johnson. In terms of majority-minority, Orange 2 is a little more balanced between the two. It's 74 and 76% majority-minority, versus B. Johnson 1 is 71 and 78. But you can see demographically they're all just 2 or 3 points difference. So the real difference is that Orange 2 shifts over to the freeway and has a more compact, easily defined line. And then internally, the big difference is obviously where the lines are between 3 and 4. So let me go back to Orange 2. Orange 2, you're coming down Magnolia and going across Washington. So you have a square and an L. Very, very clear. The B. Johnson 1 map is very different. It comes down Magnolia, then it goes over on Main Street. The line between the blue and between 3 and 4 is Main Street. And then it comes down Anza, and it jogs over at the bottom to Mollison. So there's a couple hundred people on the east side and west side that they differ. The real choice between the two is, do you want kind of the B. Johnson 1 configuration or the Orange 2 configuration?
So the Johnson map, though, it doesn't go to the natural boundary of the 8 freeway.
And I mentioned last time that there's a concern. The one place you can get into trouble with these maps is racial gerrymandering. And that was where I was hoping that there'd be more commentary. And people mentioned economic interests and things like that. But as I just mentioned, Orange 2 and B. Johnson are almost identical on all the numbers. So why stop before you get to the freeway? Why zig and zag along there? That's something that would have to be established in the record to protect yourself from a racial gerrymandering claim, because those lines do follow race almost precisely, which is what we're supposed to avoid unless there's another explanation for it. So my suggestion, if it comes down to those two maps, unless there's a big community of interest reason, which you'd be the experts on and the community's the experts on, to go with the Maine to Anza approach of B. Johnson, you're definitely safer in terms of a potential legal challenge with the Orange 2 map.
Okay. Can you talk about some of the other maps then?
Sure. Then what was mentioned is, I think, all but one of the speakers that like to eat cook and green spoke of them together. Those obviously are significantly different in how the districts are made up. The demographics are, I don't want to go through all the maps, but the demographics are very different because they don't have the two kind of flatlands districts in E-Cook. Each, as was mentioned in E-Cook, each one comes to downtown, so all 4 districts are getting a piece of that valley floor. And then green, you get more of that concentration of the area of low income and renters and other language speakers, but it's more in districts 1 and 4 than it is in 3 and 4 in that map. But again, you get very big differences in how these maps draw the lines in the east and west that are larger scale questions. And then the Peace Circle map, as you know, was mentioned, and I thought they gave a pretty good description of it. It's obviously very compact, follows clean lines, and gets 3 districts downtown, but it has less concentration of the renters and apartment residents than B. Johnson Orange 2 do.
Well, so less concentration, but actually more majority-minority districts.
Exactly, yes. Because that area is divided really between areas 1, 2, and 4, all 3 end up being majority-minority, and all 3 end up having significant apartment owners, renters, and immigrant populations in those 3 districts instead of concentrated in the 2.
Okay. And then there was one more, right? The Trouble?
The team
Brumfield
map. No one mentioned that in the hearing.
Yeah.
I would say it's kind of halfway in between the 2 pools. It has 2 districts in the middle, but has a different split, where 3 comes up in the east and 4 comes down the west.
Would I be safe in then saying that we basically have 3 flavors of map, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry, or orange, I guess, orange-sickle. But, so the green and the Cook map are one flavor, the Johnson and the orange map are another, and then the Serco is one more.
Yes.
One more variation. Now, so you've got those 3 categories. Statistically, how do they differ, the 3 categories, as far as meeting the requirements and the goals of the California Voting Rights Act?
In terms of equal population, all of them are fine. They do vary in their population deviation, as mentioned on the slides, but they're all within the acceptable range, and that data is 7 years old at this point, so we're less worried about 2% versus 4% than we would be right after the census. In terms of the Voting Rights Act, from a numbers perspective, we're good on all of them. I think from a community input perspective, you definitely heard more from the protected class populations in favor of Orange 2 or B. Johnson 1 than you did on the others. Not necessarily a legal concern, but that definitely is a stronger legal hand if the protected class residents endorse it.
One of the things I had noticed is looking at some of our data, I was surprised at how closely aligned all 3 categories were when it came to majority-minority districts and the protected of minority groups and protected areas of interest. Did you see much difference between the 3 categories?
No, I think other than the green map, which got where all 4 districts were majority-minority, but didn't have the concentration in 2 seats that Orange 2 and B. Johnson have. All of them have at least 2 majority-minority seats. Peace Circle has 3 and green has 4. So we're fairly solid ground there. You can't draw a majority Latino seat, which is the big trigger for a Federal Voting Rights Act risk. So I think, yeah, you're on fairly strong ground on all of them except for that racial gerrymandering concern about B. Johnson 1.
Council members, you have some questions for our consultant?
Doug, I got a couple questions.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was looking for Brett because the projector just shut down.
The Orange 2 map has a standard deviation of 5.27. And B. Johnson has a standard deviation of 2.83. So 2.83 is not an issue. Is 5.27 an issue?
What the courts say is that deviations have to be explained. You have to have a reason for it. And as long as you're within 10% and you have a solid reason for it, that's fine. And in the case of Orange 2, the biggest and smallest districts are 3 and 4. So to reduce that deviation, we would have to break that very nice, compact major road line. So because that difference is explained by keeping compact and following major roads, it's completely acceptable.
I think another question, if I remember in some of the earlier paperwork, we can consider race, but it cannot be the predominant factor. Am I correct in remembering it that way?
Exactly.
Anybody else have questions? Doug? Thank you. We may call you back.
Certainly.
All right, council, I know you guys are all wanted to be quiet and contemplative, but we've got to hash this out. Anybody want to start?
Well, actually, some of my experiences in the last couple of weeks and testimony I've heard have kind of switched my thinking a little bit. I was down at the Americana Main Street the other day, and I was looking around, and I saw all these minority kids, and I'm thinking, boy, most of these people down here don't look like me. And I think we need to have a couple of districts at least that don't look like me. So then the other question is, do we want to split Fletcher Hills? Do we want to split Granite Hills? I don't think we want to split Fletcher Hills, because what would happen is, as two fingers of Fletcher Hills come down into the valley floor, it kind of dilutes the minority vote. Again, that's not my first, as the law says, that's not my first consideration, but that's something to be considered. One map that meets a lot of my criteria, that one of the things is important to me is that we have 2 or more council members that represent downtown, because downtowns are the heart and the soul of the city. And if we end up like Los Angeles, like I said last time, where they have just the mayor and 1 council member represents downtown, that downtown doesn't get the money, it kind of withers away. And that's just like we have our Haunt Fest and all these things that we put on, really for all of El Cajon, but when you go around there and look, it's really people that walk there from the valley floor. It's these kids that they can't afford to go to the San Diego County Fair. So, they go to Haunt Fest where they get free rides. Okay, so I think that's really important. And that's right in the center of downtown. So P Circo 1 has certain attributes that I really like. One is it's compact. It has clean lines. It actually has 3 majority-minority districts, and it has 2, I was looking on housing stats, on rented, it's got one at 79% of the people there are renters, and the other is 65%. That's pretty significant. And there's a difference generally there's a difference in economic status between renters and non-renters. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the way things are. Renters tend to have a little bit different needs than, let's say, the people that live up in Fletcher Hills. And I think it would be really great if we had a couple districts down on the valley floor where they have a majority of renters, so they're represented up here at some point on the city council and can understand those needs. And I think it's important that we have a couple of districts that have majority-minority council members. As hard as I try, I can't be a Middle Eastern woman or a black man. You know, and I don't have those experiences, and I never will have those experiences. And I grew up rather poor in Santee, but the last 40 years I've done pretty well, and those experiences are kind of getting dim. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I work at the food bank, because I need to see sometimes that pain that's in the valley floor. So, I think that P Circle 1, with the attributes that it has, the compact clean lines, 3 majority-minority districts, 2 heavy minority districts, and 2 heavy renter districts. It's along major roads, very clean lines. It's clear there's no gerrymandering here. That's my favorite at this point, because I think it meets a lot of the needs. It may be kind of a compromise, but still, there's a good chance that someone that's a renter in a minority could get elected without a whole lot of trouble in districts 2 and 4. So that's where I stand on this one. I appreciate my council colleagues' comments.
Bob?
Well, I have a little different experience of I go to a church and we minister to 6,000 kids a week in different venues. And I'm known as Sucker Man because I've passed out suckers to the kids for the last 27 years. And when I see these, we have a bus ministry, we have youth ventures, we have these kids that just don't have, they come from rentals, and they just don't have the privileges that a lot of people do in these other districts. And the little kids that come in to see me from the buses, that's their high point, is to come in and get a sucker, and which is a piece of candy. And I see the little kids from the rental houses that come in on the buses, and some of them don't have families to look up to, and necessarily these particular kids, and some of them come up and give me a hug and stuff like that, and my heart goes out to them. And I happen to agree that the one on the right and the one on the left are not necessarily the districts where these kids come from. But I'd like to see them be representative. And I have to say that Paul Circo, 1, would be probably my number 1 choice. There are probably some others that would work, but that's the one I like the best, because my heart goes out to these little kids that come in and pick up suckers from me. And I know they're from the communities that are underserved and need to be served. And they're in these District 3 and 4, or 2 and 4. The District 3, I just don't see, their parents are there and everything, and, they're well cared for. They're the type of people that I would come from, because I live in Granite Hills, and, or I could have come from Fletcher Hills, but I didn't. I live out in Granite Hills. So I think that would be my choice. Also.
Ben?
I'll keep mine a little bit brief. I will make note to the people who are not aware, there was 163 maps submitted. 147 of them are the E-Cook green ice cream flavor. So that if you're dealing with statistics, then that would be the one that has the majority community support. So I defer to to those two maps as well as the letter from my council.
It's a big day in El Cajon that we're even having this meeting, so that's really a good thing. I think we're here because we are trying to comply with the spirit of the California Voter Rights Act, and that is to give some type of voice, whether you were calling it greater or increased or something, to people that may not have had as great a voice before. So the purpose is to comply with the CVRA. To me, it doesn't matter what my opinion is. I have to think, what do the people want? That's my job. It's not what this person thinks. It's what does the community think, and what do I think the community is best for the community. So in a sense, it really doesn't matter. I made some comments on some remarks. Ms. Marshall, Mary Marshall, I believe is your name. What did you say? Something really nice. Serve the people. Ms. Marshall, are you still here? She said serve the people. Kovu, are you still here? No, he said we should base it on what the community wants. Ali, are you still here? No. Said not on race, no partisanship. I like that. Mr. Ibarra, are you still here? Hey, Mr. Ibarra is here. You said please consider homes and renters. So I heard those comments as well as all the other comments. So thank you to all of you who took the time to submit maps and who attended the community forums. That's huge. In the discussion, or in my mind of this, I'm going through things about race. I'm talking about culture. I believe communities are based on whether you own a home or rent a home. I believe communities are defined on whether you make more than $50,000 and less than $50,000. I think communities are defined on what language you speak at home. I think communities are defined on whether you live in a single-family home versus a multi-unit home. And so as I can't consider race as the predominant factor, so I considered those other elements as well. For instance, logically, it seems to me, if you're trying to give a voice to people who may have been underrepresented in the past, as an example, 52% of the people citywide make less than $50,000 a year. So if I chose a map that had 52, 52, 52, 52, that defeats the purpose, because everybody's spread out, and the people who make less than $50,000, their voice is diluted because it's all weighted equally. So it would make more sense logically to me, based on homeowners or income or language or your ethnic background or your race, to say, how do we create maps that somehow surge one area that is greater than the norm and other areas are less in this but different in others. So all that being said, I believe that the maps B. Johnson, P. Circo, T. Brunfeld, and Orange 2 address the single-family home over 50,000, your homeowners, not renters, and predominantly you speak English at home. I believe those maps reflect those things. And probably, I haven't looked, but probably are non-Middle Eastern, non-Hispanic whites. So I started there. And then I said, okay, let's take a look at trying to concentrate these things more. And B. Johnson 1 and Orange 2, as the consultant from NDC said, are virtually identical in terms of all these things together. So my question for Mr. Johnson, the L shape in Orange 2, is that a problem?
Short answer being no. You've got a solid record. It's following major roads. So I don't see any problem with that. I mean, from a defensible, explainable position, it's easy for the voters to tell each other where the lines are. It's less than ideally compact. We'd love for all 4 districts to be circles, but that's obviously impossible. So some compromises have to be made. that's certainly well within the range of acceptable lines.
So I took a look at all the things, and B. Johnson 1 and Orange 2 statistically, to me, are a virtual tie in terms of race, Middle Easterners, single-family homes, whether you own or rent, your household income, and language. They, to me, are a statistical tie. There's a little bit more spread in the minority districts, districts 3 and 4, in each of those cases, in the Orange 2. So I am leaning towards Orange 2 because I believe that the orange part of District 1 is that single-family home, the hills part. I like how it cleanly cuts Interstate 8. I like that it has 2 districts downtown. I'm leaning towards Orange 2 because statistically, on the 5 measures that I listed, it seems to accomplish the goal of concentrating a voice. Sorry, it took so long.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I think about this. First off, I wanted to say that the green map and the Cook map I ruled out basically because it broke up a community that has been long-standing historic community of Fletcher Hills. To me, it makes about as much sense to cut Fletcher Hills down the middle as it makes sense to cut Mount Helix down the middle, or Kensington, or La Jolla. These are famous San Diego County areas. You don't cut those areas in half, not in my mind. So that brings me with Johnson 1, orange map, and circle map. So looking at those statistically, they're all about identical. And that's kind of a good thing, because a lot of times when you're in a city council, you have terribly difficult decisions where you're going to make a decision that's going to help one group greatly and hurt one group greatly, and that's not the case here. No matter whose map wins tonight, and I don't know which one will win, it's all going to be about the same. We are going to change. We are going to see 2 or 3 majority-minority districts, and I think that will be to your benefit, to our benefit. Having said that, I'd be fine with any 3 of these maps. I'm concerned about the Johnson map because, frankly, it doesn't make sense to me that it doesn't go to the freeway, that it has big chunks out of the bottom of it that obviously were put there so as to rig the system in a way that benefited a group of people, which I think is exactly the opposite of what the intention of the California Voting Rights Acts are. So thinking, in my mind, thinking that the other 2 maps are almost identical, I'd be comfortable with the orange map or the circle map. I have to be honest, I'd lean more towards the circle map because the lines are so clean. We don't have odd-shaped districts. Anybody can look at that. It makes sense. So that's where my mind is at. But I'm open to discussion. Anybody else want to advocate for their position, or somebody want to make a motion?
I'll advocate for my position a little bit more.
Okay.
The circle map, I prefer its shape. I think the circle map logically makes sense shape-wise. But again, it doesn't really matter in a sense what I think. So I went back to the data. And the reason why I chose Orange 2, circle map has 3 majority-minority districts. To me, that diffuses the concentration of the voice that perhaps the California Voter Rights Act is trying to create. And Orange 2 has 2 majority-minority districts, and it just concentrates that a little bit more.
Can we have a dialogue? Is that okay? Is it back and forth? So I got some statistics from the staff today, and if you look at the circle map versus the orange map, and you're talking about the 2 districts with the highest percentage of minorities in it, the circle map has 50%, and the orange map has 51%, which means it's nothing. I mean, it's within the margin of error. It's a 1% difference. I can show you what I've got if you're interested.
Oh, you've got, okay.
Yeah, if you pass it down to Steve. But, so, to me, and like I said, I'm comfortable with, I like the way the discussion is going. I'm comfortable with either of the maps. But, again, I don't think that it makes much difference statistically. So, at this point, well, go ahead, Steve. Is there more you want to say?
Well, for instance, in the single-family home ownership, the Orange 2 map, 30% and 45% of the single-family homes ownership in the orange.
Is that in the sheet attached to the back?
The demographic
Yeah.
sheet
Okay.
attached
So,
to the map.
I just want to follow along with you.
So I went to the bottom, the housing stats. Single-family home for districts 3 and 4 were 30 and 45%, and in the circle map, it was 33 and 46%, a little bit higher home ownership. So I said in the Orange 2 district, it was a little lower home ownership, more reflective of
And what was the percentage difference?
30 versus 33 in one district,
So
and
3%.
45 and 46 in the other.
So 3% either way.
It's 3% either way. In the terms of whether you own your own home or whether you own your own home, in the orange map, it was 20% versus 21% in the English single district, and 31 versus 35. Again, close, but orange was lower on the ownership. In terms of household income, if you were below $50,000 in the orange map, it was 70% was below and 67% in the Circo. Again, just a couple of points difference, but orange, again, was below. The language, people that spoke English less than very well, it was 29% in the orange and 24% in the Circo. So
there was less English speaking in the circle map?
More people spoke English. How can I see this well? In the Orange 2 map, more people spoke English less than very well than the Circle map. More people spoke English less
So
than
the-
very well than the Circle map.
English competency was a little lower in the orange map versus the circle map.
We'll probably use fluency.
Fluency. Fine.
So the Circle map is very close to orange, but I'm kind of still advocating orange as a tiebreaker because it's a little bit lower on each of those qualities.
Are we in agreement, though, that the differences are pretty small?
We agree.
Okay. Gentlemen, anybody else want to weigh in? Bob?
Well, I'll stick to my original thought, is my sucker kids need representation, and they come from the Circle map because it splits it up into two different areas, one closer to our church and one just on the south end. We have youth venture groups in both areas, so I would vote for the Circle map.
At some point, somebody's going to have to make a motion.
That would be my motion.
Well, Gary, before you do that, just let me, under discussion, Gary.
Sure. I like the Circle map, too, because of the clean lines and because 3 council members have areas that intersect right at what's considered the historic center of the city of Maine and Magnolia. And that's just really important. Downtown's really important to me. We've had a unprecedented revitalization downtown, and actually, in great part, it's due to our Middle Eastern friends because they opened all these businesses downtown, fixed them up, revitalized them, and they're really great. I'm going there and have pot chow anytime I want. So, I'm going to go with P Circle 1.
We have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Councilmember Goebel. Oh, thank you. The motion carries by a vote of 3-2, with Council members Goebel and Colascio voting no.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being part of this. I'm going to take a short break before we no, just finish. Oh, okay, we'll just finish. So item 101 is a public hearing on the introduction of ordinance adopting a district plan for council member elections in El Cajon and amending Chapter 1.18 of the municipal code. I'd like to ask staff to please introduce the item.
Mayor, members of the council, this is the follow-up public hearing in order to adopt the actual ordinance that approves the map, selects the map, as well as amends the, I'll take a break.
That's kind of why I wanted to take the break. We'll hold off for just a second. Oh.
And accept the map, as well as to amend the El Cajon Municipal Code to establish the procedures for conducting the district elections. A draft ordinance is in your materials. The ordinance would call for attaching the map just selected, the P Circle map, and would also include the procedures for conducting the elections. The first would be the District 1 on the P Circle map would be up for election in the 2018 general election, and then the other districts that follow, Districts 2, 3, and 4 would be in the November 2020 election as district elections. That concludes
All right.
my report.
The public hearing is now open. Belinda, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
I have no cards on this item.
All right. Make a motion to close the public hearing. Moved and seconded. Please vote.
The motion carries by unanimous vote.
All right, any discussion on this? All right. I'd like to make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Please vote.
Section introduction, and you'll have the city clerk read the title, please.
Go ahead.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Cajon, California, establishing 4 council districts and amending the El Cajon Municipal Code to provide for city council elections by districts.
Thank you. All right, we are now at adjournment, the adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 23rd day of May 2017, is adjourned until Tuesday, June 13th, 2017 at 3 o'clock p.m.
Mayor, before you adjourn, I'm not sure we had an actual vote on the ordinance. We had a vote on closing the public hearing. We had a...
I'm sorry, I thought we had done that.
I'm not certain that the reset button was pushed.
Okay, so...
So could we please...
What are we voting on?
Voting on introducing the ordinance after the title was read.
One moment, please.
Make a okay, what you're ready.
Okay.
All right, make a motion to introduce the ordinance. Please vote.
The motion carries by a vote of 4-1, with Councilmember Colascio voting no.
All right, we are adjourned.